Hey folks, welcome back to Chris Wyatt Africa. Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris live in Central Pennsylvania with the Rugby Ascendant segment. And my guest today is none other than Heyneke Meyer, the Director of Rugby for the Houston SaberCats. Heyneke, hoe gaan dit?
No, het gaat goed. Great to be here in Houston. Really enjoying it at the moment. Also thanks for the opportunity. Really enjoyed it so far. It's been a great experience for me and great memory, and that's why I coach. It's been amazing right up till today.
Well, we have a very short time because you're in the midst of a conference final upcoming here, kind of a surprise one for the SaberCats. They're getting a final this weekend. You're prepping for that. So let me get quick to some questions because we're going to get you back on the program sometime soon. But time is short. We got about 30 minutes. Ronaldo Jos, who's from Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay, just gave a super chat and he said, please ask Heyneke who was the worst Springbok he ever coached. I don't know if that's a fair question, as in not talented or deserved to be there. I think that's an unfair question. I don't know if you want to dive into that, but I've got other questions for you, but he did super chat, so I thought I'd ask it.
Just to add on, I think representing your country is always a big honor for the players, and you don't become a Springbok if you don't put in hours and hours, a lot of work, and so every guy that played under me and other coaches, I know what it takes, and the guys are so proud to represent South Africa, so it's a big honor for them.
Well, Heyneke, listen, I was at the 2015. I've got the jersey from 2015, the World Cup. Not my favorite jersey for the Springboks, by the way, but I'm sure you didn't design it. But I was there, and I was at Brighton, and I was also at the Samoa match when Jacques de Villiers had his jaw broken. That was heartbreaking. That was right in front of me. I was on that side of the pitch. But listen, my fans dared me to do this. I'm hesitant, but listen, Heyneke, that 34-32 loss to Japan. This is my ticket. My fans want to know if I can get a refund for the 85 pounds I spent for that game.
I'll definitely send you a refund. You didn't deserve to watch that game, so I'll definitely send you a refund. Probably the team played. I didn't play. They should probably tip in, and we all should give you a refund. But no excuses there. All credit to them. They're a well-coached side. Have been together, and I think they've shown this next World Cup as well. They beat Ireland and Scotland, so they've improved. They're a nation with unbelievable work ethic, and they're just going to get better. A lot of foreigners playing there, and a lot of great coaches. So their rugby will just improve. And I truly hope that America can go the same way. With America hosting the World Cup, it made a huge difference to Japanese rugby. So this is an unbelievable experience and opportunity for America to host the World Cup. I've just seen the MLR, every game has been better. It's a huge step up from last season. And a lot of great players playing here, a lot of great coaches. So I hope America goes the same way, and there's no reason they shouldn't. There's unbelievable resources here, unbelievable talent, and a great honor to coach in America at the moment.
No, absolutely. I should have asked Victor Matfield for a portion of that refund because he played in that game. So. But listen, I would be remiss if I didn't pass my condolences along to you. I know that the unfortunate recent loss of Pedri Vandenberg was tragic. And as I understand it, he played a large role in convincing you to come to Houston. Is that a true story?
Yeah, it's very sad. Still difficult, just to cope with that, just the reality of it. Because I've coached Pedri for probably most of his life. I recruited him as a 20-year-old, saw a lot of talent in him. And he's played a lot of games for the Bulls under me and for the Springboks. And unbelievable human being, he played 100 consecutive games for the Super Rugby franchise, which is unbelievable. If you look at how many injuries there is just in MLR. So to play 100 consecutive games is unbelievable. So we had a history coming back, and I've coached him for quite some time. And then I took a break after I was at Stade Francais in Paris. And then he phoned me up and said, listen, there's a team here in Houston. He's been in Austin, and then he's settled in Houston, and he's helped Rice University, and he's involved in rugby here. And he convinced me. He said, so much talent here, and I can make a difference, and I've made a difference in people's lives, according to him. And Houston needs a winning team because they've got so much great facilities, great ownership, great support, unbelievable city, but they had a losing team for so many years. So he convinced me to speak to Mike Lawyer, the owner, one of the owners, and it sounds like a great opportunity, and I like to make a difference and like to make friends all over the world. So it's a great opportunity. But yes, it's definitely a reason I was here. He also worked with us for some time, for HTX team. So I saw him, quite often, and I'm thankful to him for giving me the opportunity and convinced me to come here. And again, I want to honor to his legacy. I want Houston to grow the team to be regular in the playoffs and to make our supporters proud and make his legacy proud. So yeah, he had a huge part in me being in Houston.
Well, his loss is a huge loss to the Bulls community, to the Springbok community, to Houston as well, and just to the rugby world. It's really sad. And I did see his obituary recently. And not to spend too much time on that topic, but is his son doing well? I understand that his son was recovering. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, they've really been blessed. His son is really doing well. Been playing baseball again. They say it's a miracle. So yeah, he's doing well. His family is doing well. Obviously, it's sad and difficult to cope with it, but I'm just so thankful. I must say, the Houston community in America as such has been unbelievable. What they've done for the family. What they've fans they've put up to help. It's been a really a humbling experience. And I know they're very thankful for the community, how they stood by them, and everyone has been helping them. Rice University, wherever he's been. So it's a great testament to the rugby community in America, and it just also shows he made huge difference here wherever he's been here, and he really wanted American rugby to grow. So it's been amazing how they supported his family.
No, rugby really is a family affair. It really is. I mean, I'm talking about not your blood relatives, but the family of rugby. People really glom onto it. I've never introduced a single person to the game of rugby who said, Every person I've ever introduced to rugby absolutely loves it, and that's been a lifelong thing for me, is introducing people to rugby. But listen, I got to tell you, as a fan of the game, not just as a journalist and retired Army colonel, but as a fan of the game, something I miss. I loved your enthusiasm, your energy, your excitement in the coach's box. I mean, that was you can't buy that. You clearly loved coaching rugby. You clearly love coaching the Springboks. At least that's my assessment. What was it like for you being up there in the booth? I know it's got to be frustrating at times, like, no, that's not what I want to happen. But your energy in the booth was, I mean, I got to tell you, when you left the Springboks as a coach, it was a sad day for me. And that's, if I'm a fanboy, then I'm a fanboy. That's it.
No, thank you so much. Now, obviously, it's a big honor. I love my country. I love the teams I coach, specifically the teams, because you spend so much energy, what they put in, and you go through the ups and downs and the injuries. But I'm a firm believer it shouldn't be about the coach. I believe the coach should be number 31. It's about the team. And I knew, even when I coached the Bulls, I just go completely crazy in the box. And I used to put in one-way mirror so the fans couldn't see me, or the TV cameras. And I was always worried about the Springboks that they would see me, because once they see you, the cameras zoom in. And I remember that we play against Australia, and we haven't beaten them there for quite some time. And so usually what I do is we go in the Friday before the time and see where the cameras are. And usually the day I go in, I sit on a different place because I don't want him to fool me. But I didn't realize that game. We played well, beat them for the first time, I think, in our 50 years there at Sunbrook. We don't usually, Suncorp Stadium, we don't have a good record. So, they're unbelievable at Suncorp Stadium. So I didn't knew there was cameras in the ceiling. So I didn't see the cameras in the ceiling. So I thought the cameras wasn't on me, because usually there's a camera right in front of you. Yeah. I took that away. And I went really crazy, because we had a really good game, scored 4 tries, and first time in 50, 60 years that I've beaten them in Suncorp. And I remember speaking to my wife the next day. She said, listen, you're all over the newspaper front page. And I just couldn't believe it. And then obviously once they followed you once,
all the time,
they keep on following you. And then even in the World Cup, when I get really excited, I walk out of the booth, but I didn't realize in the World Cup there's cameras all over that zoom into you. So you can't get away from it. But I wear my I feel on my shoulder, and I had really good feedback from New Zealand fans all over the world. But again, I don't believe it's about the coach; it should be about the players. But I just love my team, and obviously the players playing.
Fair enough, but okay, you say it's not about the coach. I'm going to come back to that in a second, but the Sabercats, as you sort of alluded to earlier, not your term, but I'll use it because I've been promoting and sticking with Major League Rugby since its outset, trying to get the game to grow internationally, letting people around the world know about it, not just the United States, because about 3/4 of my audience is overseas. It's not in the U.S. So the Sabercats were a doormat. They won 10 games in 4 seasons and lost 35 before your arrival last year. When it was announced in the press that Heyneke Meyer was coming to Houston, I'm like, say what? No, that's got to be a misprint. That's got to be some kind of fake news. Let me look that up. But this season they won 9 games, and they, because of the disqualifications, now host a conference final. That's a heck of a turnaround in just one season. Now, you brought a coach in from South Africa. You brought some players in from South Africa. It seems when I was down in Houston last week that the culture has changed a bit, and it seems like a winning culture. And every player I talked to, from Danny Barrett to Matai Leuta to Willie Brits, people love Willie Brits, and Harry Labaskakna, all these players, they seem to really buy into what's going there. And you say the players matter, and they do. They have to perform on the pitch. But let's our audience, be honest with me here. You don't have to admit this, Heyneke, but coaching and style make a difference. So what has been the difference this year, turning it around from a doormat to being a serious contender?
Yeah, I think if you look at all my teams, culture for me is non-negotiable. There's not a lot of difference between the top sides, especially with the salary cap. So we decided we're going to take a young team and build into that. And that's why it interested me when I spoke to the owners way back in South Africa. I said, for me, culture is non-negotiable. We really want to set the culture where the guys really play for each other. Nobody's bigger than the team. We didn't want to go and recruit some superstars. We just want to recruit guys that really want to play for Houston and make the supporters proud. So we had long planning. It's a very, very short preseason. I'm not used to such a short preseason, but we spent a lot of the preseason just deciding, what's our DNA? What do we stand for? How are we going to play? But mostly, we really care about each other. And I think what is great, we've got guys from different cultures, and we decided as a team, we every month going to have a cultural day where we take the best from each culture and throw that together. So every month, some sort of the cultures would prepare a meal for us and play music from that culture, and I think that was a great thing that we got all the cultures together, and we realized this is an American team, an American club. That's the most important. So family values for us and work ethic is non-negotiable. So we're very, very big on family values. Families, we've got to get the families involved. The ownership is bought into that. The players are bought into that. And if you set the culture, then training gets easy because the work ethic goes with that. And, you really want to make the supporters proud, put their bodies on the line. So we started with the culture. And again, the players must get a credit. Obviously, I've got some great coaches around me that I've worked with for years. So they know what I want. And, I'm just so humbled to be in the playoffs the first year because I really some good coaches and good players out here and good teams. So to come from bottom of the lot, the first game we beat LA, which was the top side, that was a great start. So, and then we had some injuries. We don't have a lot of depth, but I'm really proud of the youngsters. It's not just the South Africans. We've got great Americans, great guys from Argentina as well. But I think our culture has pulled us through. Now we're in the playoffs. It's a 50-50 each game, and you have to fall back on your culture. Top side's got great cultures, and we really want to embrace that and just build on this. We, like I said, we've got some young players, and we just want to keep on building. We don't want to be a team that just buys guys in and next year's new guys. We really want guys that want to play for Houston, and I must all credit to the players. They really, really want to play for Houston. They love playing in front of their fans. The stadium is filling up, so it's great to see. I think it's a great project, and I hope this team will only get better.
No, absolutely. Let me bring a couple comments in from the chat here very quickly. Fleshin, responding to your response to Ronaldo's question about worst player, said that could have been uncomfortable, but fair play. Heyneke took it well. Yeah, well said. And then there was a comment here by Ace Svat who said the Japan World Cup win over the Springboks was a massive boost for the game of rugby. Cannot disagree. I mean, that was a brilliant thing, not for the Springboks, but for World Rugby. It was brilliant. That really brought a lot of attention to the game. And then Hendo, who's a refugee from South Africa, colored South African who lives in England, down in Poole, said that that Heyneke does bring fresh ideas to the club. No doubt about that. Heyneke, I wanted to shift a little bit here from this, and you've had a lot of success in rugby, and we'll get back to Houston before we wrap up this interview at the end of the 30 minutes. But you with Stade Francais, you were associated with the Dragons, the Asia Pacific Dragons for a bit, the Springboks. You have a very respectable record, 32-2 and 14 with the Springboks. Of course, 7 of those defeats are to the dreaded All Blacks. But this was a time when the All Blacks, I don't know, I think they were using steroids or something. They were unbelievable. It was hard for anybody to beat them at that time. But that's a pretty respectable record. of all this time, if you could, is there a victory or a game, maybe not a victory, but a game that really stands out in your mind as a coach for the Bulls, whether it was Currie Cup or Super Rugby, and one for the Springboks that are really special memories for you? One game for each of those clubs.
Yeah, first of all, I think rugby keeps you humble.
Yeah, it does.
Most coaches forget their losses. Most coaches got big losses, but they don't talk about it. I was fortunate or stupid enough to put it in my book. But first of all, I just wanted to set an example for people. I won't say I'm successful at the teams that they earn the credit, but you go through highs and lows in coaching. It keeps you humble. So I've had unbelievable losses, and that Japan one will probably always be with me. But I think that's where you learn. A lot of young coaches I speak to, and a lot of guys I unofficially mentor, and I say that's where you grow. That's where you learn the most as a coach. But there's so many unbelievable moments I had and memories. I just coach for the memories, and I'm not good, remembering scores. But maybe just first of all, when I coach academies and districts, it reminded me the same as the Houston Sabercats. They lost everything. They lost their last few games by 100. When I took over as a very young coach, I was 27 years old, as rugby just turned professional. And then that second year, we played in the playoffs, which was still for me amazing. First time in 100 years. And then I must say with the Bulls, there were so many, unbelievable players. Just, every game was special. But probably the games that stood out for me was we had to beat Eddie Jones's Reds by 72 points to go into the playoffs, which, if you think about it, it's impossible.
It's insane.
I always believe that. Yeah, and Eddie was a brilliant coach. So we beat him by 92-3 to go through to the playoffs and to have a home semi and then an away final, and then that final, first time ever South African team has won Super Rugby. It's still, it's very, very difficult to win Super Rugby with all the travel. That was unbelievable. And with South Africa, every test is special, specifically if you win. But I must say it was great beating Australia in Sandcorp. South Africa hasn't beat them there for like 13 years or. The last time was 2013 when we coached, and that was special, and we haven't beat him since. And I must say, I don't take anything away, but that was probably the best All Black team ever. I think they lost 3 games in 4 years.
Yep.
And so to be the All Blacks was special at Ellis Park. That was very special for me. And a lot of that team, a lot of those youngsters went on to win the World Cup 4 years later. They had McCall at his best. They had Mal Nanu, Conrad Smith, they had Rich McCall, like I said. A lot of those guys had 100 and plus test matches, and we had a lot of youngsters like Pollard and them, 21 years old, at 5 test matches. But beating the All Blacks will always be special, and battles with the All Blacks, was always special.
No, that's brilliant. I think that's a good summary ones. I have a personal philosophy, Heyneke. It's always the Springboks, Eagles, never the All Blacks, and all but England. And all but England.
So. It was always great to beat England as well. Like I said, we had a great record. They never lost against England, but South Africa always lived themselves against England. They got quality teams, but I don't know why. If you look at the most World Cups we won, most was finals against England. So I think South Africa and England play more or less same style. South Africa just get themselves so motivated when they play England. Probably all the teams in the world.
Well, yeah, and the British and Irish Lions series, I'm so disappointed. I had planned on being at that last year and covering that in South Africa. No fans in the stadium. I got to be honest, it was kind of pedestrian, British and Irish Lions series. The belly aching and Rossi's trolling of the officials aside, I wasn't too happy with it. But hey, the Springboks came out the winners, but that's going to be one we probably won't. Other than Mornay Sten's winning it all with that kick, we probably won't remember that for much beyond that. But but you talk. Oh yeah, Mornay Sten does it twice. He's killing the British and Irish Lions.
You won't believe me. I spoke to somebody. I did an interview with the media just before that game, and Mornay wasn't there. And I said I think they'll probably put him on the bench. And I actually coached him at Stade Francais. And the Bulls phoned me and asked me if he's still good enough to play. He was 34, 35 then. I said, listen, with all fitness tests at Stade Francais, he was running in front. And I said to him, I'll definitely take him if it were you guys. And then they came back to me and said, with his fitness test, he's amazing. And then I did an interview just before that, and I said they probably put him in the bench, and he's good enough to slot the penalty goal if they needed one. And I couldn't believe my words came true. And but he's unbelievable under pressure. Even this weekend again, under pressure, he's always the same. I've coached Mornay since he was 18. Probably the guy I've coached the longest in my career, and I've said this in my book as well. I think in all those years I've coached Mornay, it's unbelievable. Since an 18-year-old boy, which he didn't even kick to goal when he was at school, he didn't play for the top schools. They've already, Johnny Wilkinson's kicking coach, helped him, and he just practiced kicking. And in all those years I've coached Morné, since he was 18 till about 34, 35, I think he only missed probably 5 training sessions ever.
Wow.
He's an amazing human being. Most humble guy you get. He's always the same, on and off the field. Unbelievable ambassador for rugby.
No, absolutely. And here I'll admit to being a bit of a fan of Morné Steyn, and also without your comment, I'll put my comment in here. I felt he's been disrespected by Saro and coaches not being a selection. He'd be the all-time scorer in South African rugby history, international test, if only he'd been given the opportunity. He's still up there, number 2. Morné's incredible. Now, in the interest of fairness, when he came up early, I watched him in 2009 at the Tri-Nations in Bloemfontein when we beat the All Blacks, and his defensive skills seemed a little suspect in his early days. But I think that was a fair criticism. But over the years, he became a complete all-around player, and his boot remains consistent. I'm a big fan. I'm going to ask you offline if you could put me in touch with him. I'd love to interview Morné. I'm a huge fan of his.
No, you'll be great to interview. I'll definitely do that. He's like I said, he's a great human being and really ambassador, not just on the field. The way he treats children, the way he's always the same. He's really a great guy.
Well, here's a little comment on that. Birmingham, 2015. I'm at the game Samoa. Before the game, I'm downtown. I walk in front of the hotel where you're all staying. There's the Springbok bus. I'm like, no way. This is serendipitous. So I walk into the lobby. I'm kind of peeking around. I go sit down on the couch. And who sits down next to me in a lounge chair but Morné Steyn? And he says hello. We had a brief conversation. Really nice oak. I really enjoyed it. That'd be great if you could put me in touch with him. I'd really like to talk to him. And I hope he keeps playing for a couple more years because he's just incredible.
I think they're signing him for another 2 years. Because,
brilliant.
I was keen to get him here, but he'll probably go another year or 2.
All right. Well, interest full disclosure, Heyneke, I'm a lifelong Province fan, VPU like a ding, but I do root for the Bulls when the Province isn't playing. Okay.
I always say that people didn't know that. I actually started in Province when I coached at Satwism district team that was in that area, and then I coached the Stormers. I actually was assistant with the Stormers. They had a great year, Men in Black year. And always, I really liked the Stormers, and then Nick Mallet asked me to move up north. So people always think I don't like the Stormers. It's a great final. Bulls Stormers this weekend.
Oh, yes.
So it's great. Always north side, always brilliant. I've been involved with both. People always thought I don't like the Stormers. I only picked Bulls players, but it wasn't true. There were some great Stormers players, and John de Villiers, obviously Stormers captain, was my captain.
Now, Jean, fantastic. It's a shame. He seemed to be like the man that was made out of plastic sometimes. He took some hits and took a lot of injuries. If not for those injuries, he probably would have had 150 caps. He was a great player. Really enjoyed watching him. But let me get some predictions from you, if you don't mind, if you want to put your neck out there on the line for predictions before we get to the Houston stuff and then wrap up the interview. All right, so URC, a lot of Europeans look down their nose at South African clubs being added to it. Of course, the Cheetahs and the Southern Kings did the proof of concept and proved that it was viable. The Cheetahs went 12-8 the first season, 8-12 second season. Then they were unceremoniously dumped from the URC, the Pro Rugby 14, which became the URC. 4 sides go up there, and still a lot of people in Europe are like, yeah, South Africans, this isn't going to work. We don't like this. All I got to say is an all South African final, especially with the really rough start to the season where a lot of South African players weren't really fit, hadn't been practicing or playing rugby. Teams went to Europe. The Stormers came out with 18-0 lead and lost. Came out with a 21-0 lead and lost. Got a draw. Got 1 win out of 4 games up there, and it didn't look promising. And the same with the Bulls. They looked terrible at the start of the season, but Jake White had a plan. They came back, and here we are. We get 3 South African sides into the playoffs, and we get 2 into the final, an all-South African final. And I got to be honest, right now I think the Bulls are in better form, even though I'm a Stormers fan. My heart is with the Stormers. I'm calling in my Super Brew picks for the Stormers to win, but I'm worried that the Bulls might pull it off at the mother city, Cape Town. However, they traveled to Ireland. That can wear you out. They beat Leinster. That can wear you out in Dublin at RDS. Now they're going back to Mother City. I'm hoping fatigue sets in. I'm calling for the Stormers to win this one by 3 in the final. What are your thoughts on that one?
I never make predictions. I'm not good at predictions, but I'll tell you what, in general, it's not easy playing at Newlands. They've changed now. It's very difficult at Newlands, but it's never difficult playing in Cape Town. They've got unbelievable supporters, and it will probably be full. Stormers got a lot of youth, and the way they play is attacking rugby. But the Bulls got an unbelievable pack, and so a lot of experience, and you need experience in playoffs. I don't think the travel will make that a big difference. That was so difficult in Super Rugby. I love Super Rugby. It was a great competition. I'll get back to the URC now, if I may. But I don't think the travel is that tough as it used to be because it's more or less the same time zone.
Same time zone, yeah.
It makes a huge difference. People don't realize. They think it's the travel that gets to you.
No, it's the biological clock being set off by the daylight. Exactly. Yeah.
That's why it's so difficult to win in New Zealand, because it's almost like, you're almost asleep in the morning when you play there. And training is tough because it's different times, and that you really struggle in New Zealand, especially the first week. But I think it will be very, very close. But the Bulls got a very good pack, and unfortunately, in playoffs, you need a physical pack. But it will be very close. Can go both ways. Both got their strengths. I think it's important the Stormers keep on playing the way they've played, move the ball around. But the Bulls will, at the end, it's all about discipline and defense, and that's going to make a big difference.
Absolutely. One more, not a prediction, but just outlook for this, if I can get this from you. 2023 is coming up, World Cup. Gosh, it's already been 7 years since 2015. It's a shocker. I've been to every World Cup since 2011. 2011 New Zealand, 2014 women Paris, 2015 England, 2017 Ireland for the women, 2018 San Francisco for the sevens, 2019 Japan, and now we've got this coming up. So
unbelievable.
I've got 3 of them this year. I got the sevens in Cape Town, I've got the women in New Zealand, and I've got rugby league in England. All those I've got. But okay, right now for me, it's difficult to say because of the pandemic, and teams are still getting in form and shape and getting tests under their belt. But right now, I'd say the favorites are France and the Springboks. I mean, I got questions about the All Blacks. I don't know. What are your thoughts about going to 2023 World Cup? Are there any favorites on your table to win it all?
Just to get back quickly, I've been to 2 World Cups, both as assistants, and both we've lost by a drop goal. So lost against Australia with a drop goal not to go through, and then lost against the All Blacks with a drop goal with 2 points and not to go to the final. So World Cups for me has been within 2 points both. But I think World Cups, the home nation always have at least a very, very good chance, because all the other teams plays away. If you look at normal rugby, it's just human nature that referees 50-50s usually go for the home side. I mean, it's very difficult for 50,000 people, with 10 minutes left to blow against the home country. It's just human nature. So, and not just that, home support. You in your city, you know the game, you know the pitch, you know the conditions. So home city must always have. If you look at South Africa winning it, New Zealand winning it in New Zealand, England probably could have. So it's always, you always have some sort of advantage. I'm a true believer. Everybody says that 3-4 years in front of the World Cup makes a difference. I don't believe that. It's because there's a lot of breaks in between. It's usually the 5-6 months before the World Cup. Are you prepared? If you have enough time, and it's injuries and etc. So by saying that is the French team I've coached in France. I just came back, like I said, a year back. So I know the setup there. They've got unbelievable young players. If you look at their youngsters,
DuPont. Yeah,
exactly. And usually New Zealand or England usually win the Under-20 World Cup. That French youngsters have won it twice in a row, which is unusual. They've won it twice. And a lot of those youngsters that was in that team. And what Galte has done really, really well, he picked a lot of those youngsters, stick with them. A lot of those kids are from Toulouse. They know how to win big playoff games. And what he's done really well is, give him a lot of credit. He got a lot of Southern Hemisphere coaches in. And he's changed the mindset of the French. Usually they could have played one great game, but if you want to win a World Cup, you probably only need 3 good games on the trot, because most 2 teams goes through, and you need some luck in the draw as well. But I think what he's done well is he's got a great defensive coach in, and he's got a great kicking coach in, a guy I've worked with at the Bulls, Floxel here. So suddenly he's got a Southern Hemisphere mentality, and so the French will be very, very difficult to beat there. Only thing that the French have to prove, and they prove it in the 6 Nations, is that you have to win 3 great games on the trot to win the World Cup. England beat New Zealand, but they couldn't do it against South Africa. So you need 3 quality games in a row, and that's the only one thing that that's been tough for the French, because they haven't proven it. Although they've got brilliant players, it's a tough competition in France. The URC is a good competition, but the Heineken Cup, the best clubs of Europe, France and England is unbelievable. So. French must be one of the favorites. It's like I said, they won the 6 Nations. It's at home. They're really unbelievable playing at home. In front of their fans, that team is brilliant.
Well, that win against the All Blacks last year, that was unbelievable at home.
They're one of the only teams that's got unbelievable big forwards, but they've got a big skillful backs as well.
Yeah,
they just haven't had to put a performance in for 3 games on the trot. Then obviously South Africa. South Africa is most of that team that's won the World Cup is still there, and you need continuity. When we played the All Blacks, I did my first test match, and Steve Hansen has been 100 games as an assistant coach. So when I did my first test, he's been there for 100 test matches with Richard McCall as captain. So that's what's so difficult to beat them. They just had continuity, and that's what they've done now with Foster as well. So South Africa now for the first time has continuity. Most of the team is still good enough to play. Guys like Etzebeth and them now, suddenly I picked them at 21 with 0 tests. Now they're 27 and they've got almost 100 test matches, same with Pollard. So they're very experienced, great defensive system and a lot of continuity. So they will definitely be difficult to beat. They've got a more difficult route than last time around. Ireland is always a brilliant side, but I don't know why when they come to World Cups, they just hasn't performed. Joe Smith had great records. Also lost to Japan in that World Cup. I thought they were really going to be one of the favourites. England's always difficult to play against World Cups the way they play. Australia. So it's a little bit early to say, but I must say France is at this stage at home must be one of the more difficult teams to play. New Zealand is always a great team. The only thing I feel for New Zealand, and it was the previous World Cup as well, I think in 2015, a lot of their players played 100 plus test matches, very, very established side, brilliant team. And then they went through a transition with a lot of young players, and they're still not the experienced side they used to be. But on the day, New Zealand can beat anyone.
Yeah.
So there's probably five teams that can win it. You need on the day, But I think the French will be difficult to beat in France, and obviously South Africa is always have a great World Cup record.
Excellent. Well, we're coming to the end of this, so I want to switch to Houston very quickly. But yeah, the thing with the All Blacks is you can never take your foot off their throat. You got to play 80 minutes. You got to wait for that hooter. Yeah, they never give up.
This sounds strange, but you do need some luck in World Cups as well.
Yeah.
South Africa lost against New Zealand in the World Cup. They didn't face them and then won the World Cup. So there's always a little element of luck in the World Cups as well.
Absolutely. So let me shift really quickly to Houston, because that's what's on the table for this weekend, and that's where you're the director of rugby, and we're near the end of this interview. So Heyneke, what a brilliant stadium. I was so happy to actually come down. I came down to cover the last weekend of regular season. I covered your game in Houston at Aviva Stadium, then went to Dallas to Choctaw. But Aviva, unbelievable. What a wonderful pitch. It's almost like a putting green out there, although if it rains, I suppose it can be a little messy, but what a wonderful place to play. It's not artificial turf, so players can go hard there and really not suffer the consequences of turf burns and things like that. It was also a nice arena for fans, and of course, walking through the parking lot, I felt like I was in South Africa. There were braais. It was awesome.
There's a lot of South Africans now. Like here they call it tailgating, staying behind the game, and before the game, it's like almost South Africa in the olden days when guys went to the stadiums and had what we call a braai or barbecue or tailgating. I must say I've coached all over the world and on great surfaces, but first of all, the ownership and the groundsmen must get a lot of credit and compliments, because the stadium is probably one of the best in the in the States. A really great facility, and the ground, the turf that we play on is like I said, I've played all over the world. Twickenham at its best, Loftus at their best, Crusaders. This is probably one of the best surfaces I've ever seen. Like you said, it's like a patting green, unbelievable surface. Teams like to play here. It's a little bit hot at the moment, so hopefully that's going to help.
Yeah, it's a lot hot. I had to get out of there. It's over 100, I think. So about
heat waves for 2 weeks. We only train at 6 because it's so warm. You can't train and humid. But again, a great stadium, great setup, and that's why Houston needs a winning side. They really need a winning side. Playing Seattle this week, quality side. They've really got it. They've used playoffs, so we need to be at our best. We just really, really humbled to be there, and we're going to give it our best shot and want to make our supporters proud. But every game now is a 50-50, and it's about how do you handle the pressure. So we're really fortunate, looking forward to a great game.
Well, and that's the thing, while I was there, we had this unfortunate situation, which the Guardian says, Major League Rugby in crisis, to which I said, no, Major League Rugby showing that it's serious about, people behaving themselves. Well, what I'm referring to is that Friday morning, we saw a tweet from Major League Rugby saying that the Austin Gilgronis had been disqualified from the playoffs and not disclosing why. Later, they said it was salary cap, which many of us suspected, but they were disqualified. The Austin side came, they knew they're disqualified. They weren't disheartened. They played and won that game. But going into that game, you were going to go to Austin for a playoff on the road. your first ever playoff appearance. Then that day they announced, it was up on the scoreboard, hey, home playoff game on the 12th of June. Only to find out on the Tuesday that Los Angeles, the other team owned by Adam Gilchrist, had also been disqualified. And suddenly you go from the third place in the conference to the top seed and hosting a home playoff game. You've got the conference final, so you're in the playoffs, first time ever for Houston, and a conference final. I watched the game Seattle and San Diego, and the first half I was still comfortable that Houston was the favorite in my mind. But watching Seattle in the second half, I'm a little nervous about my predictions, but I still think Houston's a favorite. And if Houston wins, you've got to go on the road. Whether you or Seattle win, you've got to go to either New York or to Quincy, Massachusetts with the Free Jacks or Rooney. So I'll be at that final covering as a journalist, whichever side wins that, because that's a drivable, even at $6 a gallon for gasoline, I can manage to get to New England or to New York. But anyway, so Seattle's coming. Like you said, it's going to be tough. This has got to be really good for the Houston rugby community, seeing a conference final and a home playoff game.
Yeah, just to get one step back, like I said, I've been fortunate, there's not arrogance, I've been fortunate to coach all over the world in most of the leagues. And I must say the MLR is a really, it's growing. It's a tough league because of the salary cap. There's not a lot of big difference between the top sides. And if you look at, we've played LA away, we've beaten them the first game, they've beaten us just the second game. Same with most of the teams. We've beaten Seattle at home, they've beaten us there. And there's not a lot of teams that's won both, if you look at the whole season. And I think what's great of this league is even on the other conference, every game is a 50-50. So that makes it interesting because any team can beat any team on the day. Just Seattle, obviously I think they're one of the form teams at the moment. They had to beat us and get 5 points. They've done it. And then they had to beat LA away, which is not easy. And they got 5 points, and then they had a great performance now. So they're the form team that played. We've had a break, which is good, but we played a lot of our youngsters against Austin. So we haven't played for 2 weeks, so a little bit rusty, but no excuses. It will be a great game. And like you said, one of my reasons why I came here is to grow the game in America and to grow the game in Houston and make the supporters proud, like I said a few times. So every time we get to the stadium, there's new people getting into the stadium. There's more people that, learns about the game and wants to follow the game, which is great for rugby in America. And, playing at home, it's always a big honor. And, we're going to give everything we've got. We've prepared well. So we have to be at our best. We have to be like any final, you have to be 100% of the time, and you have to be at your best when your best is needed. So we've got a lot of respect for them. They've been in playoffs, they've won all their playoffs, so they know the pressure. So we're learning, but there's no excuses at home. We just have to give it everything, and hopefully it will go well.
Well, Heyneke Meyer, director of rugby for the Houston SaberCats, South African rugby legend, if I dare call you that. Certainly a Bulls legend. You're very welcome. Listen, I'm going to let you off the hook on refunding me for this ticket for Japan versus South Africa in 2015 by putting me in touch with Morné Steyn and Bismarck du Plessis. So you're off the hook.
I will do that. Again, like I said, everybody was happy with that game, grow the game, but unfortunately not me. But again, that's what I love about rugby. You have to be humble. Every team is a great team. All credit to them. They've been together for 6 months, and they did the right thing. Even this last World Cup, they pulled all their guys out of Super Rugby, out of the Sunwolves, and prepared well, and that's why they had a great World Cup. So hopefully America can have that same support for our team. We need a great American team, going into the World Cup. So if I can play my role, my assistants and players can play their roles, what an honor. I really enjoyed it in America. I think it's got unbelievable potential here. There's so many great athletes, great administrators. So there's no reason why the American team can't go the same way. And, it will be unbelievable for world rugby if America's up there top 5-6 teams in the world. That will be so great. And bringing rugby to America, there's so much potential here. Big fan bases that can be built. So I'm very excited to be here. And just fortunate for the opportunity by Mike Lawyer and, JT and all the guys that's involved.
No, fantastic. Next time, I've interviewed Gary Gold several times. Next time I talk to him, we'll talk about that again. He really appreciates Major League Rugby for essentially the development of the Eagle side. It's really played a big role, and it's been very helpful to have a place to go and not have to hunt around for club rugby all over the country trying to find that talent. So it's good to see that. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate coming on. I'm being very stingy with your time. I know you've got a lot to do to prep for this, so thanks a lot for that. We'll get you back on sometime soon. It's a real pleasure, and thank you so much. Thank you for what you did for rugby in South Africa, for what you're doing for rugby in America. It's up and coming. I think next time we can talk more about development of rugby in the U.S. and about what's going on here. So thank you very much, Heyneke Meyer. It's a real pleasure, and bye donkey for your time and for the interesting conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to all the fans that support Houston, and just not Houston, rugby in the States. It's, like I said, great game, and hopefully we can grow the way it should. But thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your show.
All right, folks. Thanks a lot. Heyneke, I'll let you drop off there, drop out of the chat.
Thank you.
All right, cheers, and I'll wrap up here. All right, cheers.
Okay,
folks. Yeah, there he goes. Okay, that was Heyneke Meyer, former head coach of the Springboks, head coach of the Bulls. He won the Currie Cup 4 times, the Super Rugby title, the only South African side to ever win it, and of course a 32-2-14 record for the Springboks. Did a heck of a job there, and now he's with Houston as director of rugby. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment behind. Thanks for the super chats that came in. My many thanks to the Houston SaberCats, to Cody, their media relations person, for helping me get Heyneke on the program, for Heyneke Meyer for coming on the program. I hope you enjoyed this. This is one of my most enjoyable interviews in recent history. I've really enjoyed this one. So thanks a lot to Heyneke Meyer. Anyway, folks, good luck to the Houston SaberCats this weekend. I'll be calling that game on Rugby Ascendant, live color commentary and play-by-play for that game. And I'll be honest, I'll be rooting for Houston. Got kind of a soft spot for them. You can see the SaberCats little mini ball right there up behind me there, mini rugby ball, and wishing them well. And we'll get Heyneke back on. Hopefully he'll get me in touch with Mornay Sten and Bismarck Duplessis, or I will demand my refund for my Japan ticket. You dare me to do it. I did it, and it was a fun moment there. Thanks a lot, everybody. God bless and have a lovely day. Take care of yourselves, and I appreciate support for the channel. It's always a pleasure to have you watch this program. Anyway, folks, that was epic. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And I'm trying to find I have a hard time finding this video half the time. It's a video from my other channel. So where is it at? Come on, where are you hiding at there? There it is. Got it. Cheers, everybody. Take care. Hello, folks, and welcome back to Rugby Ascendant. This is Chris.